in my mind, I never thought I could even make money from newsletter. I never thought of sponsorships, or I never thought about ads also. All these things were never in my mind. When I reached 950, 970 somewhere, then one of my subscribers reached out and saying, "Hey, are you interested in sponsorships?" Then I said, "Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm open to everything, right? Because we are trying to figure out." So I spoke to her. She said, "For beginning, let's say $500." I was like, "Oh, $500 is great. That money is not a lot of money for sure, but it gave me more confidence. It gave me that, oh, there is something. The path I took, it gave me more confidence that, yeah, there is something here. I can pursue this." Then I did more research on how much Hustle makes, how much a newsletter that has 10,000 subscribers make, how does a newsletter which has 100,000 subscribers make. Then I realized, oh, there is real money in here. Like the newsletter has real money. But yeah, that kept me going from that point, right? My motivation level from 5, it became like 8.
Everybody, welcome to our podcast, Everything Product. We talk about the latest technologies with a product mindset. So I'm Sid Saladi. I work as a product manager for Best Buy.
Hi everyone, this is Phani. I'm a product manager at a startup.
So today we are going to start a new product leader interview series, and where we have our first guest who's going to talk about a lot of product management stuff. So this is Pavan. So Pavan has been in the product management space for close to 10 years now, and apart from doing product management, he does a lot of side hustles where he's a content creator. He has a new newsletter with close to 5,000 subscribers, and a Instagram page with 15,000, or close to 20,000 subscribers. And he does a lot of content creation stuff, and releasing digital products and all of that. So we'll get into more details of what product management is, how does product management look like in the Indian ecosystem, and what does content creation and side hustles look for Pavan. So let's introduce Pavan here. Hey Pavan, hi, how are you?
Hi, Sidhu. Thanks for the brief intro.
So Pavan, maybe let's maybe dig more deeper, and get into
Yeah.
what are the different things which you do in content creation, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of things that I'm running currently. Is like I run, as you guys know, I run Product Mindset newsletter, which is, it's one of the biggest which I run. And I have Instagram handle, like you mentioned. I have Instagram handle for Product Mindset. I have Think Product ORG website, which is like, there is a masterclass, which is free masterclass. People come all the time, and then people later take value from there. And I myself go to Product Mind sometimes, right? I also go to masterclass, and because the videos are really good. Um, so I have that, and then I have Product Manager Academy, Instagram handle, Product Manager Academy website, and I have Product Manager Academy newsletter. And then I really got into this Web3, right? I have Web3 for PMs, a website where we have about crypto and all these things you can learn about, how the Web3 thing is changing, and how to build up to that. Yeah, I mean, these are few things. I'm forgetting other things that I run. I have Gumroad and all the other things, but yeah, these are the main things that always run in my head.
I mean, that's the problem of starting too many things. You can't keep track of
Yeah,
things.
I mean, there are multiple threads, but what keeps me going in all these things, right? I mean, there is always that where you lose motivation at any of the areas, right? It's very much possible. What keeps me going is like when I see, oh, this week I got like more open rates, or I could improve this, or I learned some insight which is very nuanced, right? I learned an insight from users that if I use a title like this, it makes a difference. When I learn that, that makes things interesting for me. I mean, and that keeps me going, like let me experiment something next week and things like that. Yeah.
You basically implemented experimentation in the real life, and you're running multiple experiments in parallel while continuing to learn what the customers are thinking about. But let me ask this question, right?
Yeah.
So how do you like do so many things while continuing to manage your work and personal life and everything?
I think this is all part of my personal life. So the work from home, side hustles, this is part of life. And then I have to draw a line, right? Where do my human brain doesn't work 24 by 7. Generally, it is awake 24 by 7, but it doesn't work 24/7. Then I have to see how do I balance my mental energy, and then how do I, the focus that I have, how do I, keep that focus? What day of the week I have, what can I do? And I have to do all these things mentally, and then I go. Like if there is some complex problem that I have to solve, then I have to basically give a certain day, like Saturday, I'm doing nothing but just that. I'm just thinking about it for 6 hours. And some days I have to like things that are already automated in my brain, right? Like a newsletter is already automated. I'm doing for 3 years now, so I already know like where to fit and what to fit all the boxes. Instagram. So this is the other interesting thing, right? On some of the experiments which I run parallelly, I already know answers to some, right? And there is one core experiment which I'm already always running, right? One important experiment which is big in my head. I think this is the core experiment. And the other ones are actually following that experiment. So some proven experiments which I have, other things which I'm doing all of things, right? Some of them are following the proven experiments, and one of them is actually running the real experiment, which is like unknown to me also. Something like that. In that way, I mean, things are interesting, but it's difficult to manage time. Uh, but we have to do what we have to do. Some days I send a great newsletter in my feeling. Some weeks I don't send a great newsletter in my feeling. But the only answer to this is I just promised myself that I have to be consistent, irrespective of what. Right? I can compromise with anything in my life, but I have to be consistent, and for every that falls first, and everything else follows. So yeah, long answer, but
I
yeah.
think that's a very interesting point, right? So a lot of people kind of tend to lean more towards perfection and they delay the things which they want to do. But like once you do things consistently, right, that's when you kind of keep improving every day and get to that piece where you want to do. So don't plan to do something really, really, really good the first time. Just start
Yeah.
it, just do it, and then you'll get to that perfection at some point of the time as you're doing it, right?
And that was one of my
Uh,
experiment. I tried to do perfection and I failed. So that is the experiment which I ran. And I was like, okay, don't wait until it's perfect. Like, stay motivated and stay consistent, and then, things will fall in place. But yeah,
That's right.
but
Yeah, absolutely true. And also one other thing which I wanted to talk, right? You are saying like it's like how do you, when Funny was asking you how do you manage all the titles and all of that stuff, you like it's all work, right? So I think that's right. Like it's not work life balance, but it's work life harmony, right? Where you are still doing what you're liking and loving to do, right? So it doesn't feel like work anymore. But there's definitely a balance where you have to manage your personal life, otherwise your wife or kid will
yeah,
kind of get
yeah, yeah.
mad
I
with
mean,
you, right?
it,
All of
it's
that
it's
stuff.
like this, right? If you're let's say I'm doing something very different. Let's say I'm actually a developer now. As my side hustle is development, and then my day job is product management, right, or product design. Let's say this like two different things. It's not There is no overlap between these two roles, right? What things I'm doing inside outside. Then I have to switch my mindset, switch my thinking process. But this is like I'm doing this from almost a decade now, right? My brain works like this. If I look at something, if I look at a new product in product hunt, that makes me interesting about, oh, how did they even get to this problem? That's what my first thought is, how did they know the problem? What could they have done, or the product person have done to get to this answer of, oh, I have to build this product, right? That's how my brain works. So in that way, I mean, it's part of how my brain works. I mean, I'm doing that, I'm doing this. It's all about that mindset, and that's why it's called product mindset. That's why the first one is called product mindset.
If you have watched our video for so long, I hope you guys are enjoying all the topics that we are discussing. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
So Pavan, looks like you were also planning to launch a product, right, as a digital product. And also, can you give us or throw more light onto it, and we can maybe throw a link in our description where people can check that product out.
Yeah, I mean, I recently last week, and you can also see in my newsletter. But last week we launched something called jobs.productmindset.io, and let me explain what is jobs.productmindset.io. So after in this 1 hour's conversation, you realize that I really care about product managers. I have like deep empathy towards the role and the efforts that we go through. So then I realized like there's not a lot of product managers in the world. It's not like millions, and there is not a lot of product management jobs in this world, which is not like a lot. And product managers compared to any other role has a lot of flexibility. Like you get a lot of work from homes and you get more remote roles and etc. etc. If you're in certain city, there is high likely if you want to switch to different city, they're going to agree. If as long as you're making up to the work, they're going to most likely agree than compared to any other role, right? Then I realized one thing I can do to help the community is bring all the product management jobs into one URL, which is jobs.productmindset.org. So what my tool is going to do, I built a AI recommendation tool. I can fill a form and say I'm interested in jobs in US. It will basically recommend for the jobs, all the jobs that I'm actually interested or I fit for from US location, and it will keep sending me emails until I find the right job or all the jobs that I'm interested or the preference of the job. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I love that quote, right? Bringing all product management jobs to one URL. So,
yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
I think, anybody who wants to check it out, we'll put it in the description. Please check that out. So, yeah, I know
All
you
right.
have a stable job, right? And you're in a really good position at Dell working in product management, and you have been leading teams and all of that stuff. So, why do you want to do these side hustles and, content creation on the side?
I mean, yeah, I mean, product management is pretty cool. I like the job. I like, working with people, working with developers, design. All these things are pretty cool, right? It's satisfying. Uh, but at the end of the day, I spoke to a guy, back now he's a big founder. I actually spoke to him 4 years back. He's a good product manager, just like us. He told me, as a product manager, right? If you're not building a product at the end, then we are missing the point. That really hit me. Like, I have to build all the skills I'm trying to learn or all the skills I'm trying to implement. If I'm actually not doing the product by myself, then I'm really missing the point of product management. Then I started thinking about what is the end goal of product manager, right? Like, what is the end goal? What I'm trying to do? What is the end of this? End of this in my thought process is like I have to build a product. I have to solve a user problem in the real world, and that's what. And this is my baby step towards that direction.
Yeah, I think that's a very important thing, right? So as a product manager, right, in the day job, you get to do all of the things which you kind of go from an idea to a product and all the things in between. But obviously, it's not full autonomy, right? You have things which are stuff which you have to do, which is aligned with the company goals and all of that stuff. But doing the side hustles will give you more leverage of going full blown on anything, any idea which you want to implement and all of that stuff. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of very interesting way of putting it. Sure. So I think let's maybe try to uh, dig more deep into and get into the product stuff here, right? So for the
sure.
newsletter, can you maybe walk us through, like, how was your starting, like, what were your growth hacks to get to that 4,000 or 5,000 odd subscribers, right? Like, what did you all do? How did it all start?
Yeah. Newsletter was. I still remember the day. Like the second week, I guess the newsletter started. I had eight email IDs which were subscribed to the newsletter, my newsletter. Out of which two are mine, which obviously, and other four are my friends. I mean, forcefully subscribed friends. Um, but then I didn't really know where this is going, but I wanted to do this because I understood that it's blogs are not going to work. It's there is too much SEO thing work, so I have to put a lot of my brain in SEO, right? Blogs are not going to work, so I have to maintain one-to-one relationship with my subscriber or my user, right? From my point of view. So then I wanted to really see this is a small group of people. Let me do all the mistakes I can do. Let me do what all things I can do wrong. Let me do, but also let me realize those things very quickly. And let me just do this continuously every week, right? It's not like if I'm not improving then I'm stupid, but if I'm trying to improve, then this is going to go well. That's what was in my mind at the beginning, like let me keep going. um, then I got to one day I got to 100. I guess after a few weeks I got to 100. First 100 was pretty easy, like sharing among the group. I had some presence in Instagram already, so I was able to get to 100. That gave me really good confidence. I was like, okay, but it was pretty slow. It was not really fast, but it was pretty slow. But that gave me some confidence that okay, this is working. People are reading. I have better engagement. So this is another avenue. I'm trying to build another avenue apart from Instagram, right? If I just rely on one platform which is playing a middleware role, then I'm actually it's the same thing, right? I can get cancelled any day, or something can happen to my account and account can get locked. So I wanted to do something which is, I have more control over this. Even though Substack is again a platform, right? But still, I have some control over my email addresses and things like that. But I wanted to go down this path. And then real motivation hit on a day where I had around 950, 970 subscribers, and one of the subscribers reached out. I never in my mind, I never thought I could even make money from newsletter. I never thought of sponsorships, or I never thought about ads also. All these things were never in my mind. I was thinking, how can I build some audience? How can I build a place where I have some audience? Then I can build a product and launch it to the audience, right? That's what I was trying to build. That was my master plan. That, oh, I have this many audience. Then I have a platform where I can run through some products and experiments and see, the real products, not the content products, the real products that we build, right? SaaS products. When I reached 950, 970 somewhere, then one of my subscribers reached out and saying, "Hey, are you interested in sponsorships?" Then I said, "Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm open to everything, right? Because we are trying to figure out." So I spoke to her. That was a company called. I mean, let me remember. The company changed their name. It's called. I think it's now called Spring. It's a very good company. User research company. They do user research. So one of the VP follows me, and then the marketing lead followed. We spoke. She said, "I want to buy 4 newsletters sponsorship." Right? She gave me. She said, "For beginning, let's say $500." I was like, "Oh, $500, great. Let's do it."
So that
So
was for one edition?
4 editions, $500.
4 edition 500. Yep.
Yeah. Then I realized, oh, there is something here. This is like all these weeks I worked. This is making sense now. I mean, yeah, then I was like, how can I get more people for this paper, right? How can I make sure Spring, this company Spring, maybe I'm like taking the name wrong, but this company and how do I make this relationship, and then how do we keep this going, right? Yeah, we spoke. We did this for 4 weeks, and I got the money. That I that money is not a lot of money for sure, but it gave me more confidence. It gave me that, oh, there is something. The path I took, it gave me more confidence that, yeah, there is something here. I can pursue this. Then I did more research on how much Hustle makes, how much a newsletter that has 10,000 subscribers make, how does a newsletter which has 100,000 subscribers make. Then I realized, oh, there is real money in here. Like the newsletter has real money. But yeah, that kept me going from that point, right? My motivation level from 5, it became like 8. Then kept me going from there. But the hacks and tricks and things that I learned on the newsletter while doing all these things, I think you guys see what I do, right? One perfect way of being consistent and also having consistent engagement is story, right? How do I And there are many ways to tell a story, right? You can tell a story in a blog, in a 500 words blog, or you can actually tell a story in a series, right? How do friends? I mean, this is my logic, right? How is a TV series very famous, right? These days, everybody is watching TV series. Why is it famous? There is every episode is broken down, and only when you stitch everything together, it will make total sense. But every episode in individually also makes some sense, but if you tie it together, it makes more sense. So that's when I started newsletter series, which is, this 20 series which will actually talk only about user stories, something only about core product management, something only about product discovery. And that's what the users kept, that engagement. Like after somebody has watched 5 episodes of 10 episodes series, they're not going to drop until it's like completely boring, right? So yeah, I mean, this is one trick which I used. I see analytics is working, so I kept going in this direction. I used frameworks. I saw that people are interested in frameworks, based on Medium and everywhere. Like we see framework. blogs get a lot of views.
Working out.
So I did some frameworks and all those things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think perfect story, right? So you start, even for me, right? The first 100 were easy, then the first 1,000 was the uphill battle, right? Where you do keep doing that consistently without any returns and all of that stuff. But the economics are very interesting. So I'll after this question, maybe I'll get to you, Funny, on how did our first comment excite us on YouTube. I'll get to you with that question. But Pavan, so how does economics work here, right? Like imagine that I'm a product manager, right? So product manager, I think, maybe their first foray into a side hustle could be a website or a newsletter, right? If I'm a product manager who wants to start a newsletter, right? uh, how much do I get from sponsorships for every 1,000 subscribers? Do you have any numbers there?
Yeah. I think it again, the breakdown depends on what kind of audience you have and what kind of niche you have. Let's just like take an example, right? Uh, a product manager starting a product management newsletter. Maybe that product, let's say, let me make up a story now, right? Let's say a product manager like me, or me in a parallel world. Um, I'll start a newsletter for product managers in supply chain because I'm from supply chain background. I've been working supply chain for 10 years. So I would start product manager in supply chain and then I'll keep going in that direction, right? So I'll acquire some audience or some set of subscribers. Then that becomes a particular niche, right? Product managers for supply chain. And anytime a new supply chain product is launched or something in direct like
They'll reach
transportation,
out to
something
you.
is launched, right? They'll reach out to me or I can reach out to them, but there is a high probability of sponsorship. But let's break it down. I mean, let's get one step deeper into that, right? So first I have to build the audience. The cost per newsletter will happen based on where the audience are and how much this company which is going to sponsor me is going to get out of that, right? If the company is focused on US products, B2B completely, then I have to make sure my audience are, something like that. You get the picture, right? If my audience are in US, a lot of audience and companies in US, they'll definitely pay me in that way, or the cost of the newsletter goes something in that direction. But in general, if you have 1,000, it is around $100 to 150. So that's where I think it will fall.
100 to 150. So a product manager having a newsletter with 10,000 subscribers would maybe have a uh, cash flow
I
of like
mean, yeah,
1,000 to
it's
1,500,
not a,
not consistently, but
yeah,
right, but whenever you find sponsors and
yeah,
all that stuff, that's enticing, right?
exactly.
Anybody who's watching, maybe they have to do that.
Yeah. I mean, definitely,
Yeah,
like make it, if you have 10,000, 15,000, product management is not a big world, right? It's a small world. There's not a lot of product managers in the world. Like it's not billions and millions of product managers, small world. So if you have your niche, even if it's 10,000, it's very valuable and, you can definitely make money. And maybe if you select a core like this, right, which I said, supply chain product manager or product management supply chain, you can make your product newsletter, you know, a paid newsletter. That's when it gets into core, right? You talk about supply chain things and somebody's getting, and there are many more ways to make money. I didn't make my newsletter into paid yet, but if I'm doing that in a parallel world, I'll definitely make my newsletter paid.
yeah. So there are like a lot of product management newsletters which charge uh, $15, right? From $5 to $15. So
Yeah,
that's a lot of revenue which you can generate, right? But I think it's consistently, as you said, Pavan, consistently having putting that content out and connecting with your niche, and also maybe doing it, building an audience first, then maybe monetizing it later, right? So that's the way to go. So
yeah.
maybe a fun thing, right? Like I'll ask you, Funny, right? Like what was your first reaction when we had our first comment on YouTube?
Right? Our story is very similar. So our first 10 subscribers are definitely friends and family. And probably like first 50 subscribers are just friends and family. And then we started noting that, okay, some random people also started subscribing to us. That also like probably the fifth podcast or something like that. I mean, even by fifth part, we still didn't even know like how to record, how to edit it, how to create thumbnails. Bunch of those we are still learning. But I think probably little less than 100 or something like that. I remember someone commenting to say, "Hey, I'm loving those videos." Then we all messaged each other, "Hey, do you know this person?" The moment we
So
know that. it's not any of our friends or anyone. That's when we were like, oh wow, this is nice. Yeah.
Yeah, any comment that came in at the starting rate, we were like, did someone might have known this person, and that's why this person is kind of commenting. But I think the point where we knew that it was none of our friends, that's when we were like, okay, man, there are people also seeing it, right, or looking at it.
Yeah, I have a story similar to that. In the initial days, when I used to take a whole night to do one Instagram post, so it used to take a lot of my time because it's like a lot of research. I mean, the template design, it used to take a lot of time. Uh, so many times, the only motivation was when people said good things about the post or something like, nice things. Even people say bad things about some of these things, like some code they don't agree with, they just say a negative thing about a code that I post. But it's like when people say nice things, it really keeps us going, right? That's even that's what I would say to even people who are listening, right? That one comment may have like taken 10 seconds for that person who wrote that comment. Maybe that person forgot at the end of the day, but those things really mean a lot for content creators or people like us. That keeps us going. The small comment will really make our day or make our week. But yeah.
No, that's awesome, Pawan. So, when we were talking sometime last week, right? So, one thing that intrigued me is your mindset to like teach others. Because when you're creating like newsletters or when you're creating courses for product managers and stuff, your mindset has always been like, hey, I want to teach the people who are new into the industry. So, can you talk more about that as well?
Yeah, I mean, um, helping people was always like, it only comes when you have gone through the pain, right? When I mean, some of the stories, like when I started in, there was not lot many people who can help because of the nature of the environment. You know, but when we take the hard route, the whole intention will be like, how can I help the other person who's actually going through this path? But you can recognize somebody like, oh, this person is taking that turn which I took 4 years back. How can I help him make that turn much smoother way? He don't have to go through this rough road that I've been through, right? That is one thought process which I normally have, like, generally helping somebody, or somebody's going through somebody wants to build a pitch or whatever, right? But then teaching was not my thing, actually. From inside I never wanted to. I mean, I'm not a born teacher, that's what I'm trying to say. But what I realized is, I read a quote, and I saw some examples that a very senior leader, whom I really admire, I came to know this 5 6 years back. A very senior leader whom I actually look up to. He actually takes one every year. He takes a class for all the senior vice presidents that report to him. He takes a leadership class for 1 week or something like that. I was like, this makes sense. This makes totally sense. How do we lead a team? If you're not a good teacher, how do you communicate your vision? How do you communicate your roadmap? When you're too much high or up in the pyramid, it's very difficult to communicate your thinking process to the person who is actually doing the work on the keyboard, right? It's very difficult to communicate. And if you're not a good teacher, or if you're not a good person who is able to communicate, then it's very difficult, and that's a muscle that you have to build over a period of time. It's not like tomorrow I can become a good teacher. That was one thing. Then I started something
Yeah.
inside. I started some training programs inside, and other programs which you guys know. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think one important, one funny thing which me and Pavan are sharing, right? Like when you put posts on Instagram and all, a lot of people reach out, right? And you tend to help them and all of that stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah. So one other important point I think I wanted to bring out of the discussion is, right, like anybody who wants to start teaching, right, you need not be an expert, right? If you maybe are at
Yeah.
the 10th step, you can help the people who was actually maybe at the first, second, third step, right? So if you are a product manager with 2 or 3 years experience, you can help a aspiring product manager who's want to breaking into product management, right? So I think nobody could be an expert in anything at every time, right? So I think you keep learning and evolving, and you can always help people who are in the bottom steps, who are trying to reach your position and all of that stuff.
See, the more complicated thing about teaching, right? It's not. It's more about there is so much information in your head, and formalizing the information is first complex thing, right? You have to put everything in sequence. Then oh, you don't have these two boxes also. Then you have to learn these two boxes to continue the flow, or to have everything in the flow. Then you realize that, oh, now I have a formal structure. Then it doesn't have to be, most of the times it's like people know information, but they're actually a little bit hesitant to teach. Can I teach it better? Can I teach like my maths teacher? Am I a good teacher? Sometimes it doesn't matter. Actually, you can start with mentoring people or coaching people, or like share what you have, share your experience, and that will really help somebody. If you can help one person, and then you know how to help a person, and then you can keep doing that. you know
Yeah, I also, that brings, I think, this point, right, where maybe spend 10% of your time learning something, 20 to 30% of the time teaching someone, and 60 to 70% of the time doing it, right? So I think the more you think about the concept, the more the I think the connections in your brain form better, and you can think and you have more clarity on that specific concepts. That's what helps you while teaching things. Funny, you had a question, right, for Pavan?
No, not the question actually. So you were telling that, hey, if you're at a step 10, you can teach people who are like at step 1, step 2, step 3, etc. Right? It could be the other way around too. So I've learned from several people who are just starting in their career. Their thought process is like very different
Yeah.
than what you're used to. Then when you have discussions with them, you'll be like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. So that's one way as well. Like, so the moment you start sharing, you will never know who you are influencing, and that's a good thing. And one more thing I've seen, right, to Pawan's comment, is the scale. Like initially, when I was at Intubator, like before that, right, students used to reach out to me and ask, "Hey, Funny, can you help me with like how to interview? Can you help me teach basics of product management, etc.? Or I want to switch to product management. Can you help me? How does it look like?" I used to have individual calls with them. After some point, I realized that I can't scale. Like if you talk to like three or four people, it still takes a lot of time in the week to teach them how to take interviews, etc. But the all the mediums that Pavan is doing, right, it could be Instagram, it could be his newsletters, it could be the trainings that he's doing, etc. Everything goes at a scale. Like now you're impacting like tens of people or probably hundreds of people at the same time than you're trying to like do for one person.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I think the very important point there is like having a piece of content, and also distribution is very important, right? So sometimes when you have that thought clarity and talk to one person, that person might learn from you. But once you have this distribution, right, there are like hundreds and thousands of people who are learning from the content which you have created, right? And it takes the same amount of time and to create the content when you talk to one person, or create it through a distribution of all of these channels. And yeah, Pawan, please go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the same point I had. Like, um, the even if you do, I mean, I was also teaching some MBA classes in one of the university. Like they have product management, this thing. So I usually run a workshop every year. So it's about same thing. Like this amount of content takes for one person or 10 people, it's the same thing, and right. But the more if you are able to scale more, or you're able to make a more impact, then you can actually, the content has more value. It's all about that.
Yeah. So, Pavan, I think maybe that this will be a good segue towards your journey of teaching classes, conducting workshops, and also doing it in MBA programs and all of that stuff. So, how did it all start? Right? Like, what was your starting point? Like, how did it expand and all of that stuff? Can you give us more light, throw more light on that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so this is this is a long story, but I was in US for 4 months or 3 months approximately. Um, was working with a company called Pivotal. Now Pivotal got merged into VMware. So Pivotal have a different style of building products. So Pivotal is a Silicon Valley company. So they have pure Silicon Valley way of building products. So so fortunately, I was selected. So Pivotal has a product. There are a bunch of products, but one product which is a core product. It's called Pivotal Cloud, which is like Google Cloud or AWS. Almost everything runs in Kubernetes. But the team I worked with, they were actually working on the PCF and all these things. So I get to work with them. We have this concepts called pair programming, which is test-driven development, and we do all these principles of pair programming, XP, which is extreme programming. Then on the product management side, we do the lean principles and lean product management. How do we make sure we do small things and have major impact? And then you do always keep users first and all these philosophies, right? The product philosophies, which we, try to inbuild. And they were like very core into that. Then the first step is make sure the thing is right and everything goes behind that. So that was that was a big shocker for me. And it's not like there is no business, nobody's giving requirements. Oh, what is the big deal? Let's. So then it's like, oh, you have to think now. You have to like think about what you're going to implement, and you have to really take ownership. Right now, I cannot say a business didn't tell me, so I didn't do this. So it's like there is nothing like this now. So it's your idea, and then you have to think through the idea 360-degree and make sure all the mistakes, all the assumptions listed down, and talk to your team, and So this whole cultural shift was a big change. Then at the end of this 3 months, 4 months, I realized that this is almost big jump, right, from a product manager or business analyst kind of a approach of give me requirement, I'll write you the stories, I'll deliver it to you, and after from there it was a big jump. Then I realized this is the real stuff. I mean, if I want to become an entrepreneur, this is something I have to really master. This skill, if I master, I can do something. I mean, I can build products in real life. This is a skill I have to really master. Then how do we master? The first way, like Sidhu said, to master something, you have to teach. Then you realize what are the mistakes that you have. It's kind of you realize by yourself by teaching. Oh, I didn't really this thing. I know that I don't know, but I'm still teaching. But I also have to learn. So you also have your to-do while you're teaching, right? When I came back to India, I was trying to teach some product managers a weekly. Like we used to do this. Everybody's in a room, 20, 30 people, and for 1 week, I'm teaching only product management and this pure product management, pure product lean principles. So we are going through every concept in deep, and everybody's going through hands-on exercise, and we are all locked. I'm teaching, everybody's going through, and we're all like refining, right? Everybody's learning. I'm learning how people are thinking about same situation. It's like this, right? If I give one feature to 3 product managers, all 3 are going to come up with 3 different feature, how the feature is going to operate. They're going to come up with 3 different stories. So it's very interesting how people think about each of the situation. And those are very big learnings to me. And that really kept me motivated to, help people, teach people, and teach in a different way, different style of people take things differently inside, and they approach things differently. So I get to experience all these things. And then when COVID hit, and then when I started all these things, then I realized, oh, even the real world needs this stuff, right? Why not? Then I built the first masterclass, which is for Think Product, which is a free masterclass. I didn't teach the videos. I'm obviously camera shy person. I don't like come on videos all the time. I don't do Instagram reels yet, which I have to do because that's what Instagram
So
incentivizes on.
everybody, right? So this is Pavan's first appearance on video. So normally he goes by product mindset.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Pavan. Yeah.
Yeah, in any of my products, nobody knows my name. It's like, my name doesn't matter. All it matters is if the content is giving you value, that's what people are going to remember, right? So that's what my idea was, intent was. Then I, built the masterclass to test is it people really want this? And what I realized is a lot of people have made a lot of content on different topics, and there's a lot of good content over the internet, right? So I brought everything together. I brought everything together and built a web page to test. And then I saw I got 10,000 views. I was like, this is crazy. 10,000 views is a lot.
So that's
In the
so
first
yeah.
couple,
Let
yeah,
me pause you, Pawan. So that's you putting together, all the content, curating it under one web page, saying it's a product management masterclass, right? And what did you do after that? Did you launch it somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe let me then. What I did is I formalized that information, right? Information is spread across, right? I formalized. First I built a syllabus. Like this is a syllabus. I broke the syllabus down into topics, and then for each topic, I had a good video and done 4 blogs. I realized people, those medium days, right? Everybody wants to read, like they want to show that they're reading something and share links. So 4 blogs and one video, a video which they can play on the website. They don't have to go out of the website. So video gets embedded into the web page, and there's 4 URLs which will take them out. And it's very long, right? I had to do a lot of work in this was in WordPress, so I had to do a lot of work to do all these things. WordPress was very slow, but it's a very long web page, but very interesting one. Because some of the videos I keep watching, and the some of the videos were good product manager talk, right? Like the 10x product manager video and some of the product discovery videos, the videos which never, I don't get bored of watching those videos. Even the Gojek founder, they had a product management series. I never, Naval has good videos on thinking about product or how do we approach the industry. I never get bored watching those things. So I actually thought of somebody like me as a persona and then put the thing together. Then I realized it's a very long page. Why? I mean, somebody has to scroll almost like 10 scrolls to get to the bottom, like a lot of content, right? A lot of information. Then I realized, oh, maybe to make things easy, let me make a PPT which has all these things, right? And we product managers PPT is like 10 minutes thing, right? I made a PPT very quickly, and then I I added the PPT in Gumroad, and then in Gumroad
Hmm.
they said, oh, this is a big PPT, so you cannot give it away for free. It has to be some money. And I was like, and this is, I don't know anything, right? I was like, what can I do? $1. Okay, $1. I kept it for $1, linked it, hyperlinked it in my website, and said, okay, if you want the whole thing to be downloaded in a PPT, I would love to give it for free, but this tool doesn't allow. So you have to pay $1. To my surprise, people paid $1. That is the moment, like the first dollar which came into my like Gumroad account. That really changed that opened a door in my brain. Said, oh, this door was closed all the time, and that opened a door. Like that $1 really opened a door. Like, oh, there is this possibility I never thought about. Then that really motivated me. And then uh, just like anybody else, right? I lost motivation for a few months. I launched that page. I just, I was doing something. I was busy in work and all these things, right? Life. Then one more dollar came. People are calling. So one more dollar came, and that really asked me come back and do something consistent. Keep going in this direction. Yeah, so that really motivated me to do so many things. But that, like Sahil says, right? Gumroad's founder Sahil says, the first dollar in internet will change your life, and that $1 changed my life. And $1 is like not a lot of money, but that money, that $1, if I had that note, I would have laminated that note and put it in my room. But that $1 really changed my life.
Yeah, so I think it's all about getting to that earning your first dollar, and from there onwards you'll figure out ways to earn more and more. But that's a
Yeah,
very
yeah.
interesting story, right? Anybody who wants to earn money online, right? Creating content or creating digital courses and all of that stuff. So as Pawan said, right, you don't have to spend like days and days, months and months, right? Put something together real quick, try uploading it and see if people are liking it or not. If people like it, it'll go like a fire. Otherwise, experiment and release another product. Where Funny, you also have to check out this masterclass. So it has a lot of different links and all of that stuff. So anybody who's watching, if you want to look at that, we'll also put that link into the description. Please check it out. So you got like 10,000 views, right, Pavan? So how much money did you earn from that whole exercise?
Yeah,
Do you
not
want to share or?
lot of. Yeah, I mean, I can share. I mean, not a lot of money in the sense of money, but it's a lot of. It gave me a lot of confidence, a lot of courage that, oh, this works. The syllabus actually works. What kind of video it is. It is a YouTube video or somebody else video. That is a parallel, right? But the syllabus works. People are interested. This title makes people curious. people wants to like this kind of, there is a need for this kind of things in people's mind, right? That's when people are coming. um yeah, I mean, lot, to my surprise, people paid more than $1, and
Yeah.
some
And
people paid actually. Yeah. I mean, I was like, every time I was like, oh, I like, I thank that person in my heart. Every time I see that one, like somebody purchased that, I thank that person in my heart. Like, oh, thank you, thank you. That really means a lot. I mean, $1 is not, but
yeah,
that really, that satisfaction really, I don't know how to put those things in words, but that satisfaction really means so many things, emotionally. And I was
yeah,
like,
and
oh, thank you. But I hope this
yeah.
gives you a lot of value. But yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So I think one other point here, right? So anybody who's like, feeling afraid to sell, or is it if they think, selling something is like salesy and all of that, right? I think people value your work when you have a dollar amount to it, right? Like you can give an Harvard MBA class for free online, people don't care, right? But if you have a dollar number to it, people perceive value, uh, when you have a dollar number that. So it's pretty, yeah, important lesson for anybody who wants to sell online. So and everybody also thinks the same, right? They think they should have started monetizing soon, that rather than later, and people do it kind of very late in the game when they do it for a while, right? So yeah, sorry, Funny, you had something to say.
Right. So, Pavan, you were mentioning that you came here, you worked with Pivotal, learned a lot about like lean product management, etc. Went back, taught a bunch of product managers. Awesome thing. So, how do you see the difference, like the product mindset in US versus India? I know the Indian landscape also changed a lot, right, in the last few years. So, how do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, remote really worked, and remote really helped India, right? India's ecosystem, remote culture is really helpful. I mean, it is helping India to grow and grow in many directions. And startup ecosystem really helps India or Indian ecosystem to think from that product, or think from, okay, like, the other initiatives which Google run, which like build for India, or next billion users in India, initiatives like that, that really helps people to have or change their mind. But if you look at the Indian ecosystem, right, I'll tell you the difference. If you look at the Indian ecosystem from last 20 years to today, somebody started their career 20 years back. They started in service business, right? Infosys, Wipro, TCS, these are the companies. Even my parents, they don't, they want me to join Infosys. That those are the companies, they always feel like they're best companies, right? Oh, you joined this company, you didn't get it in Infosys, probably that's why you joined this company. That was always that, right? Indian mindset of, oh, you're working in some company which they don't know the name of, then it means that you didn't get in this first three companies, the good companies. That's why you got into some other company. That's the way they perceive. But if you look at the services industries, it's all about, you ask me this and give me this money, I'll give you what you asked. I don't care about what is that, what is inside that box. I don't have that emotional attachment with that, whatever I'm building. It's like, you asked me this and you paid me this dollar amount. I negotiated, you will get this much for the dollar amount. I gave it to you, and I forget and do the next job. So it's always like, mm, project based work, and project to product, that comes to the whole big dialogue of project to product mindset, and what is a project, what is a product, and all these things, right? So the culture is like that. I mean, people look at, always, if thing comes, they want to know a requirement. Tell me the requirement and I'll develop and give it to you, right? That's the mindset. It's not a mindset
Yeah,
of, forget about the requirement. Did you do the research? What do users think? Did you understand the user? What will happen if the requirement doesn't work? What is the plan B? What is the experiment? What happens, nobody uses this? How much money are we going to spend? Should we have to build this big feature set for 1 year and then see the, if the luck works or not? Or, nobody asks these questions, right? That's the, I mean, I'm part of a lot of communities in India. I go meet people, so I know all these things, and this is what I'm trying to also help and change, right? We have to think from those point of views, and that makes you valuable. Your whole role of thinking from that point of view makes you powerful and makes you valuable. Maybe for that moment you may feel like, oh, people are not liking me asking these questions, but if you don't ask these questions, we are dropping the ball. I mean, whatever you're building is getting killed, right? At the end of the day. So it's like you're slaughtering whatever you're trying to grow if you're not asking those questions. So yeah, that's the mindset difference. That's the change I see. But with changing things, I see that is being evolving. People are thinking more like they want to be like Silicon Valley way of thinking, building products, building a small product which works rather than a big product which doesn't work, right? There is no sense in that.
Yeah, so I think the landscape is changing, right? So as you were saying previously, it was more of output based, right? You give me a task, I'll give you
Yeah.
as much output as possible, and sometimes it might not be useful, right? Like, are you actually getting value out of it or no? Is it outcome driven? Is it bringing the reason why you want to get the job done home or not, and all of that, right? So I think the shift from a project mindset to a product mindset uh, is evolving in India, and I think that's opening up more and more product manager roles. And anybody who wants to break into product management roles, I think it's better now than before, where it's more accepting, and also there are more and more roles opening up where companies think that a product organization or a product mindset will help them build better products and a customer centric product, rather than just building something and pushing it out, right? Yeah, you had anything funny
Yeah.
to add?
No, the overall thought process, I went through similar journey as well. I was a developer back in the time, about more than 10 years ago. The thought process has always been like there is someone in US who has thought through some stuff and then they just tell you to do certain things. But they don't ask you inputs, or you even don't try to understand what the customer was trying to do. You eventually end up doing, okay, this person told me something, I just have to implement it. So the mindset shift basically is, rather than being a doer, first be a thinker, and then once you're confident that this is the actual problem that you're solving, then go ahead and do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll maybe jump on to our next question. So funny, sorry, Pavan, like, to be a successful product manager or really good product manager, right? What do you think are the most essential skills?
That's a great question. So to be a successful product manager, in my view, lot of let me state some of the problems that people actually have or people go through. Right? People
Good,
tend to
starting
too
with a
much.
problem, right? Like a product manager.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah,
I see my observations. Right? People get too much attached to one application or one product. Their whole career or most of their career they're working on one product, right? That's you it means that what that's one mistake people always do. To be successful, you should not do you should be able to get into any product, and then you should be able to contribute immediately, right? That brings two situations. One, you have to be in understanding, or you have to have a higher level understanding of, oh, I can get to a product that I have zero clue, but then I can ask this 10 questions and I'll get some context and I can contribute from the second day. Right? You should have that confidence, and you'll only have that when you work on a couple of products. You change products, you have different product point of views towards different products, right? That one mistake people should never do is like stick to one product whole your career and then uh, believe that this will change my life. This will not change your life. If you change your job, everything is going to change, right? Upside down. And you will feel insecure about the situation. The more you switch, the more confident you become about the situation. And then you understand what are your gaps and, how do we figure out those gaps? First thing. Second thing, I feel people have this of, okay, I learned this and this is it. I don't want to expand. That's another thing. Like, we don't want to really change.
yeah.
What's that? No, no,
Uh, No, no, no. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no,
Good.
no. Yeah. No, the second thing is people are a little bit worried about the change, right? I don't want to change. This is it. I don't want to risk. People should risk. People should change domains, and people should think about, oh, if I was the founder, what would I do in this situation, right? If I am a, like, have that founders mentality even when you're working in the ground level. And Naval has a great episode which is principal agent problem in economics. There is some, if
Yeah.
if you haven't heard, you should definitely hear. And I heard this million times. So you should always have this point of view. If the founder is in this situation my place, what would he do or what would she do? You should have that mentality. And then if you don't know the right answer, by thinking like that, you will understand what is the right answer. And then, you can build on that mentality. If you do these two things, there is more likely that you will actually excel. It's not like you'll get a lot of promotions tomorrow, but it's like this is the thinking process that will take you forward in life. Or even if you want to build products outside of the job, you can definitely do this. And you can switch jobs, you can go to higher roles, and with this mentality, that I believe that that's the right thing to approach product management.
Sure. So so
Actually, I have a
so
question for you, Pawan. So over the and over our entire discussion, probably for the last almost an hour or so, right? One thing that I've continually observed from you is you are learning a lot from other people, be it talking to them, or be it watching their videos, or be it even like doing some of these courses and stuff. So, any thoughts on any thoughts or recommendations for people like us? Like, how do you think we should do it? How much stress we should put on networking and stuff? Any thoughts there?
uh, yeah, means one thing about networking, right? We should not force fit networking in our life. It should be part of the flow. People tend to do this, or let me net. It's not going to really work. And once you do your thing, people automatically come, and then we'll become friends. Or when you're doing same thing and you see other people doing same things, that is what network. While you're working on the flow, you meet people. That is what it's in my view, it's called network, right? If I'm force fitting network in my life, I'm going talking to other people just to network, it's not really going to work. And we have seen a lot of examples, right? In real world, people go to events and talk to people. It's all vanity. There is no depth in that. So I don't believe in that kind of network. Network is like if you're really into that, and you'll find people who are also into that, and then that's the network, and they really appreciate. And there is a good episode of Mr. Beast talking about the initial days, right? The YouTuber Mr. Beast was a lot of subscribers, right? The number one channel in YouTube. He talks saying, in the initial days, I just spent time networking with these four people who are doing the same thing that I'm doing. That's their network, and that's how network works, right? You have to have network. If the network doesn't have value, then this network doesn't, like, people don't have value, and then the network you're building doesn't have value as well. So that's what I think about network. Like, you go with the flow, and then you meet people, but have the open mind to have this open conversations with people, and then that's how you build your network.
it's like being genuinely interested in people, and not like making it part of what you do, rather than a separate gig where you forcibly go and network with people, right?
Yeah, yeah. And in
Yeah.
that way, I really, it's like, yeah, in that way, the people the people I meet or people I interact with, I always build deeper connections, rather than as like I spoke to this person once and I never speak to that person. It's not like that. If I talk to somebody, if I really care for them. If I'm trying to help somebody, I really care for them. I mean, I'll think about that person even after the meeting is over. It's not like I don't deeply care. Yeah, and I don't want to meet somebody and like I vanitily care. It's like my time is already like overpacked. I don't want to do all that.
No, I love that thought, Pavan. I've personally faced that situation too. Like when I think about myself early in my career, right? I'm like, hey, and the first thing that anyone teaches you when you're doing an MBA is network. Like network would like take you places. So you go to like different kinds of events, like product management events, like entrepreneurship events, and like meet so many people. How many people am I in contact with? Probably like 1% of them. Yeah. If there is one thing that you want us to take away, what would that be? As product managers to take away, what would that be?
Whatever we have access to, everybody have access to, right? The roadmaps, anybody can build vision. Anybody, like, things that we have access to or things we are called for, anybody can do it. It's all about the point of view that we take. It's about how we think about the situation, right? That's the only thing that differentiates you between a project manager, a product manager, or any other parallel roles that you actually talk about, right? With the overlapping roles. That's the only thing. The way you think about it, your mindset towards that will differentiate between what your role is and anything else. Everybody's building a timeline, right? Project manager is building a timeline. They're maintaining a backlog. Anybody else can maintain a backlog. Anybody can write a story. So what differentiates you is the point of view you take and the thinking you have towards that. And that's the only takeaway to any product manager, I would say, is the thinking process is really valuable, and you have to learn to build that muscle and make that muscle more stronger. How do you think about those things and from those point of views? Yeah,
Yeah. I think that's very, the perspective always matters, right? The way you look at things and go from there. Yeah. So, thanks, Fawn. So, a lot of valuable information and insights, and we would love to do maybe another session digging deep into, all the other things
definitely.
which we're talking about. But yeah, thanks for your time. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Thanks, everybody.
thank you, Phani. Thank you, Sidhu. Thank you.